What's ripening YouTube? So I just want to show something real quick, so I haven't talked about it much in a while, and I want to talk to you a little bit about earthworks, especially on a low flat site like mine. So my site is prone to flooding, or at least it can flood. We had a dry year this year, so it hasn't done very much, but that flooding condition can really limit what you can grow. And so in the past I've done mounds for my main trees, but I've actually started to do what you'll see here is these kind of ridge berms. And because I'm cheap, I have not been importing material to make the berms. I've been using material from the site. So what I've done here, if you'll notice, I've got three ridge berms, and then I actually have bamboo down my pathways. But what I did here on the edge is I dug out all this material and I used this material to make those berms. This is all done with a tractor, box blade, and the bucket. And what actually I did here is a subtle earthwork. I'm up here at the front of my road. You see there's a very shallow trench here, and that leads into this water body. So what's happening is when we get a big rain, I have somewhere for this water to land and soak in, and I can also collect it off of the road, but it can only get so high before it spills back out. So it's a little water catchment here. It's pretty subtle. Most of the time it doesn't look like that. Most of the time it's dry. But when we do get heavy rains, the water has somewhere to go, so it doesn't sit up underneath these trees and hold there and have a negative impact on them. So something to keep in mind, if you have the means to bring in heavy equipment to help with your drainage issues or to bring in material, you can do that. But you can also just use what you have on site. Here's another example here. I haven't planted these 2 rows yet. I've got them tilled up and I'm actually waiting for a different season and for more material, mulch material to arrive before I start this next piece. But in this case, all I did was I tilled this middle path and then I dragged material to the 2 sides, and I made this pretty subtle berm. But even just that little 6 inches or 12 inches, it's enough for the species that I'm growing here. The other side of that is that I'm growing species that I already know perform well in my conditions. So I'm not planting avocados here. I'm not planting something I don't plant a lot of papayas, or at least I don't count on them, because they're so prone to that fungal attack when we have the heavy rains and we have the inundation in the water, or the water table coming up really high. But I can do coconuts. I can do certain types of bananas. I can do really well here. Mangoes, the ice cream bean, my eucalyptus, a lot of my bamboos. They perform really well. They actually really like that water. They may not want to be under the water, but they do want access to it. So just something to keep in mind. Let's do a little quick pan through here. Coconuts are popping. Bananas are starting to pump up a little bit, finally. See if we can find a mango tree. Who's in here? This is a little guy, kind of lagging because we had that drought. Some of the other ones are looking better. Anyway, that's a quick run through on that. The drainage matters. You can do subtle earthworks. You've probably seen it on other YouTube channels. Yes, I am abundant in biomass right now. Abundant. Look at this. There's another little mango. Little guy. Here's another example up here is my main pond that we dug. This pond collects water off of the main drainage of the whole property. So when I first bought the property, there was an old drainage swale that was supposed to go out to the road. You can see it here. It's kind of subtle, north-south. And it drains and then it continues over there. So I actually collect water and drop it into this pond. But the way that I did it I was just talking about this with my buddy. If you look right there, you see all this? This is all material that was floating on the water. When we had all the rain, it all came off the field, it landed in the swale, it came through here, and then I left just this little bump. It's kind of like a weir. This little bump, so the water has to actually fill this swale before it gets over and falls into the pond. So I'm actually soaking the water in next to my grove, and then once it gets to be too much, then it can flow into my pond. At a certain level, the pond will fill up and then it will just backflow. That can happen as well. By the time that happens, it's also flowing out and into the road. There's roadway drainage that goes off-site, so it's really subtle. It does require some observation to figure out where and how you can tune things. But let me know if you guys have any more questions about that. It's something that I kind of pull from, you know, my engineering survey kind of experience. I don't know if a lot of people are thinking about it or talking about it. So if you want to ask questions, we can get into it. Otherwise, see you next time.